I am Michael Harvey. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Business Management, and I'll be introducing our featured speaker today, Teris Pantazes. I'm honored to welcome you here to this year's J.C. Jones Lecture in American Business Leadership. This lecture seminar is named in honor of James C. Jones, Jr., who was a business leader and a 1947 graduate of Washington College, and he also served on the college's Board of Visitors and Governors. The Jones Seminar is intended to honor those whose special achievements have distinguished them as leaders in American business, and increasingly that means, of course, also global business. Which brings me to this afternoon's speaker, Teris Pantazes. Teris, accompanied today by his lovely wife, Kate, in the front row, is a 2002 graduate of Washington College. He majored in political science. He also studied philosophy and business. I love the way that all comes together in the liberal arts package. And I know a lot of students here are making similar choices about studying different kinds of things. Putting them together, I think it makes a lot of sense. The business study must have really rubbed off on Teris because we have not graduated many young people who have burst out with more entrepreneurial energy in the years since they graduated. I don't want to steal his thunder, so I'll let him tell that side of the story, but I'll just mention that Teris is the founder of Seven Seas Energy, a commercial solar energy installation company for the Mid-Atlantic region, established in 2007. He's also the president and CEO of Amacor International, which focuses on renewable energy projects in developing nations. Instead of what Teris has done since college, that's what he can talk about and the lessons he's drawn from that. I want to turn the clock back to where it all started at Washington College of Teris, 1998. It's a big year for me because that's when I started here too. First day of the fall semester, late August, 1998. I'll never forget my first day on campus. I parked in the morning just outside Daly Hall, and a college employee delivering mail stopped in the parking lot and said, "Hey, you're new here, aren't you? I'm Mabel. Do you need any help?" I've just gotten out of my car, and the first person I bump into doesn't know me, they're friendly, they want to get to know me. Wow, I thought, pretty special place. That day I go to lunch in the old dining hall, not like this fancy dining hall, a lot less fancy. I'm walking around, I get a tray of food. I'm just trying to find a place to sit down. And a student who spots me walking around can right away tell, rookie teacher. Walks right up, says, "Hi, I'm Roland. You're new here, aren't you? Could I have lunch with you?" I just couldn't believe it. I was hooked. If this was Washington College, I wanted to be part of that forever. I'll always remember that first year at Washington College, 1998 to 1999, because of the sense of caring and community and connection of people like Mabel Mumford-Pultz and Roland Fornoff and Teris Pantazes. During those early years, I got to know Teris primarily through SGA and campus governance. He was special, but in those days it was a special that rang through a lot of our students. He cared about more than classes. He cared about this place as a community. He cared about other students, and he had tremendous energy and passion for reaching out, for connecting with people, trying to solve problems creatively and constructively. Looking back, I realized that he and lots of other students were living and learning not simply what was good, it was smart. Teris and other students were taking every opportunity for practical lessons in leadership and entrepreneurship, in building organizations, forging relationships, and working with people of all kinds, all while juggling courses, campus activities, and discovering who they were as individuals, how they worked best, and what their passion was. Teris has gone on to do a lot of things since his time as a student at Washington College. He's going to tell some of that story in a moment. But I just want to pause and look back and honor the spirit of '98 and the spirit of '02, the year Teris graduated. It's amazing to see the years roll by and the changes they bring. But hey, we don't have to get all wistful about it. That same spirit is alive today here at Washington College. Our campus today has lots of Mabels and Rolands and Terises. And if we go back even a bit further, I think it's also the spirit of '47, of James Jones, who had the foresight to endow a fund that will keep bringing our Terises and other business leaders back to share with us their stories, their lessons, and their questions, the sparks of leadership. The circle turns, the world changes, But what endures is our commitment to learning that makes a difference for us, for our community, and for our world. So ladies and gentlemen, I give you one of your own, a shoreman who made good and is doing good. Ladies and gentlemen, Teris Pantazes.
Wow. Well, Dr. Harvey, thank you very much for that very gracious introduction. The first item on what I was going to talk about this morning was myself, or this afternoon was myself, and I was going to just give you guys a little bit of background. But Dr. Harvey, that was very nice and much more eloquent than I could ever be. So thank you very much. And then I want to thank everybody here, one, for having me back to Washington College, and also for coming here tonight. This place, I have a lot of pride for Washington College, and I love coming out here any opportunity that I can, and I especially love helping you guys, the students and alumni, or even people here from the community. Anything I can do to help you out, as always, before you leave, get my contact information and let me know. So, now that you know about me, I want to know if anybody has any questions. Go ahead.
So, when you attended Washington College, how much of a leader would you describe yourself looking back?
I was the greatest leader this school has ever seen. You heard it, right? No, it was, how much of a leader was I? I participated wherever I felt that I could.
But were you a leader?
I guess so, yes. I would, other people would label me as a leader. I would label myself as just somebody who stood up and wanted to work hard. Is that good enough? You understand? Okay. Other questions? Okay. A room full of entrepreneurs, and I get one question. Come on, guys. So what I'm going to do is I have a PowerPoint, but the PowerPoint is more or less just to sort of drive home some certain ideas that I have. And the key is, at the end of what I'm going to tell you, there's going to be a test. So I hope you guys are all ready for this test, because it's a test that I hope sticks with you the rest of your lives. And it's something that I think about on a daily basis, and something that it defines me. It defines what I work on. The title of tonight's thing is called Success from Startup Stumbles. And the whole idea is how just because you go through and you have a startup early on and it doesn't exactly plan out the way you want it to, is it a failure? So what I want everybody here to do, I hope that you take away from this, is a redefinition of what failure is, what success is, what a stumble is, and how to move forward. So I'm going to go through this stuff. We're going to talk about perception. We're going to talk about something that was cut off at the end there, but the word is supposed to be passion. Is there a way to fix that? Anybody know? I could tell you what it says. If you're passionate about something, you will keep moving forward with a positive perception. And then I also want to talk about money.
Elegant way to fix it, but I can redo the slide if you want. And
Oh, it is just messed up. That's all right then. Maybe the others won't. That's okay.
Okay.
All right. And then the final thing that I do want to talk about is success and money. Because, of course, everybody, as soon as you think of business, you think of money, and, of course, they're related hand in hand. But I think money is something that can hurt a startup, and good or bad, and we're going to talk about that. All right? I want to go back, and there's a slide when I first started that said imagination exercise. I want everybody here to close your eyes. This is one of those speeches where they say, okay, everybody close your eyes. All right, close your eyes, and I want you to picture yourself 50 years from now successful. What do you look like? What do you drive? What kind of house do you live in? Do you have a family? Do you have kids, grandkids running around? What do you see? Somebody call out. What do you see? Successful self. Go ahead. Let me get your name.
Sawyer West.
Sawyer. What do you see yourself 50 years from now? Successful.
Smiling and having fun.
Smiling and having fun. Who else sees a German car in their driveway? Who sees a big house? Maybe 3 of them. One for the winter, one for the summer. That's what we view success as. Oftentimes, that's what I view success as. Now, for the second exercise, everybody close your eyes. And this is a tough one. I want you to picture yourself as a failure. Everything you dream of today has not come true. You've stumbled, you've tripped, you've fallen, you didn't get back up. What are you doing? You're killing my speech there, Professor. What do you see? I'll tell you what I see of myself, because that's a hard question, and I've also had a couple weeks to think about it, and I'm just throwing this on you now. I'm working at a store. Not that I'm going to knock somebody who works as a store clerk. I'm a store clerk. I've owned construction companies, so I'm 70 years old. I'm not retired because I can't afford to retire. I have an orange apron on, doing the best that I can. It means I work at Home Depot. And I'm not knocking Home Depot. I'm just saying that's sort of maybe what you could consider as a failure. But I'm going to get back to this one in a second because it's perception. And we're going to re-examine, and I want you to think about how you pictured yourself as a failure, how you pictured yourself as a success. So, to further go into perception, we have another exercise. What do you see? Come on, I need participation. Innocence. Somebody else say something. What do you see? What do you see? Focus. What do you see? Come on, fuzzy, warm. Throw it out there. I'll say it for you. You're the entrepreneur. Wasn't I supposed to give that to you?
Yeah.
I talked to him before. So, what if, I mean, we all see the same thing here, but what if I told you that cats are the only animal on earth that kill for fun? From the day they are born, they want to kill for fun. I see a tyrant. You might as well paint, tomahawk war paint on the side of that cat because whatever grasshopper he's going for is dead. So, difference in perception, which is based on how you feel or how you look at a certain picture. Now I'm going to show you something, and if you know Spanish, I want you to keep your mouth shut for a second, please. I skipped one slide. What do you feel? I imagine silence is probably the general consensus. Same thing? Right? Means nothing to me. I'm going to translate into English. And now what do you feel? What do you feel? What do you think of? One word. Yeah, you, green shirt. What do you think of when you read, I have failed? Miserable.
Motivated.
Killing my speech, man. But it's true. No, it's true what he's saying, but we'll get to that. Embarrassment. Failure makes you, it's dark. It's cold. You hang your head down. Now what do you feel? Oh, I have overcome. You see that there's failure, but all we did is we changed one word there. It's all a matter of perception. Same thing we could do with any other sentence. I have stumbled. Let's say you're walking in the woods. You're not paying attention to where you're walking. You trip over a tree stump. You fall down on the ground. You stumble. Do you say, shucks? You get back in your car and you go home because you stumbled on a tree stump? Or do you overcome the tree stump? You say, I'm going to keep an eye on this tree stump and I'm not going to trip over it again. And I'm going to remember it the next time I walk down this path, and I'm not going to stumble on that tree stump again. So it works for, perception works for just words on a black screen. It works for walking down a path. Well, what I want to go on is it works in life. Because all you have to do is you change from I have stumbled to I have accomplished greatness, and suddenly you got a story worth telling when you're 50 years from now and you're going through whether or not you're successful or a failure. So this is, I think I actually got this out of like a Chinese fortune cookie. It says failure is real, failure is imaginary. And I really like this because failure is a word that holds you down. Failure is when you trip over the tree stump, you fall down on the ground and you don't get back up. You say, that damn tree stump got me. My toe hurts, I don't know what to do. But it's imaginary. You could just stand up and continue on. You could do the same in business. If you go through a startup and you don't succeed the way you wanted it to, you can choose to move on. You could choose to move forward. So failure is a perception. Well, what is perception? Perception is the injection of emotion. It's all up here is what I'm getting at. And emotion is passion. Because if you want to walk down that path, if you want to not trip on that tree stump, and you're passionate about hiking in the outdoors, or are passionate about a business, you're not going to let that thing stumble you. You're going to keep on. You're not going to let it become a failure. You're going to keep moving forward. So what is passion? And if you guys have any questions, just feel free to interrupt me. I think right now I'm still up here, and in a second I'm going to take it down to a level of my experiences. So this is still sort of like an introduction, which will probably take up half of what I wanted to say today. So what is passion? There you go. Who sees passion on that page? I don't. One thing I hate are stock photos. Can't stand them. I look at a website, I see stock photos, and I think, come on, you could have done better. This is your business. I see a guy who, I don't think he's wearing a shirt under a suit. I don't know what the girl's all happy about, but nice flip phone. And at least I got Bruno Mars in the picture. I don't see passion with that one. However, when you do see passion is when you bring action. So you have to know what's going on behind the picture. To me, that's passion. How many people see passion in this picture, in those words? Nobody. But what if I told you that's my company? I co-founded this company. This is our state registration. I co-founded this company to do work in developing nations and build power plants for people who don't have power. When you kick on your air conditioner, the whole town goes dead. I started this company because it's what I really wanted to do. We also donate 5% of our profits for our operating power plants to the local communities. And we'll hopefully have our first operating power plant online beginning of next year. So passion, I was saying, it cannot be illustrated in a picture because it needs explaining. So I'm going to talk about pizza. Who here is passionate about pizza? Dr. Harvey is. You know why I know Dr. Harvey is? Because I'm going to tell you guys a really quick story that I told in his class that has really stuck through me. Stuck with me in life. So here's the story, basically as quick as I could tell it. I was taking his organizational behavior class, and we had to do a report and do a presentation. I don't even remember what the question was. But we split up into groups, and my group was supposed to compare corporate versus small businesses and the differences between the two. Long story short, we decided to go with pizza. So half of the group went and interned at Domino's Pizza. Is Domino's Pizza still here? Right, they had just opened up that year. It was like the hottest thing on campus. Everybody was excited. So they interned at Domino's Pizza to learn about pizza. And then the other side of us, we go down to Procolinos, which is still here, because I'm friends with them on Facebook. So we go down to Procolinos, and we intern, and I intern there. And I remember I walk into Procolinos, and I tell the guy, I want to work for you. He says, I'm not hiring. He basically explains, I'm like the owner, I got my brother working here, we got this guy working here, we don't need other people. It's just us, it's a tight knit. So the whole goal was we were each going to work for each different pizza company, come back, compare notes, and then give an argument in front of the class to talk about what are the benefits of a small business versus a large business. And Domino's Pizza, now maybe on the corporate level, they show the commercials, they have the chef who's tasting all the sauces and everything. But when you order it here, it's hard to see that. It's hard to taste that. In fact, they have to spend millions of dollars to advertise and tell you that. But the passion that you get is when you go to Procalino's and you got a guy in there who's been working there for 20 years. He ensures every pizza that walks out his door is of the highest standard because he has personally touched every single pizza. Now, I don't know where he got his recipe from, but we're sort of led to believe, he hasn't misled us, but just walking in there, we're sort of led to believe that this guy climbed some holy mountain in Italy and got the perfect pizza recipe and brought it back here to Chestertown so we could eat this pizza. Now that's passion, right? Is that passion? Besides the obvious cheesy passion that may be portrayed? Who here sees passion in this picture? Who here sees just a guy driving down the road? Forget the fact that he's texting when he's driving, which I'm going to take a moment to say nobody should text while you drive. Who sees passion in this picture? Why? Name something passionate about it. Go ahead, bud.
Expertise.
Expertise. Who else sees passion? Come on, it's Da Vinci. Dr. Harvey?
There's a feeling of reverence for something really important, even if it's mysterious.
We all know that Da Vinci spent an immense amount of time painting every stroke on the Mona Lisa. We know that he hid some information. We don't know who the picture's really, who the painting is really of. But we do know that that's art. Put yourself in Da Vinci's shoes, literally. It's 1610. Do you see passion? Kind of sad because nobody here sees passion. But if you put yourself in Da Vinci's shoes, if you take his perception, I want you to look at this picture hard. Does anybody else realize this guy shaved that morning and didn't cut his face? Do you think Da Vinci did that? Could Da Vinci ever imagine, although he did sort of invent the helicopter, could Da Vinci ever imagine forging cold, hard steel and propelling yourself down a highway at 60 miles an hour, that even if you were to hit something, you may survive? Or what about the weird fact that this guy here is talking to his palm? I see passion in that picture. I see entrepreneurial spirit. I see the work of thousands of men have gone in to make this guy smile the way he is awkwardly at us right now. Again, it's all about perception. They're related. So this is my story. This is the meat and potatoes of why I'm saying all this other stuff. At 12 years old, I started cutting lawns. 16, I almost bought a water tower. It was a stumble. At 19, I expanded into property management. At 21, I almost started a moving company. 24, I started a .com, which almost took off. Got 3,000 hits a month. And at 27, I left a lucrative career in real estate, mind you, right after I got my master's degree in real estate. And I decided to switch industries. I got this brand new diploma, and I switched industries and went into energy. So here's an interesting story. When I was 12 years old, I was outside in my yard with my dad and a neighbor. My dad owned a construction company, had a bunch of guys working for him, and we're working outside like a normal day, and my neighbor stops by. She was an elderly woman, lived down the street. She says, "Our lawnmower just broke." Dino is my dad's name. She goes, "Dino, I know you have a bunch of guys that work for you. Can you send one of them down tomorrow to cut my lawn for me? It needs to be cut, and I don't think we're going to buy a new lawnmower. I need somebody to come down and do it on a regular basis." I says, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So I didn't think much about it. Well, the next morning, my dad wakes me up early in the morning. He says, "Come on, son, we got to go. I got to take you somewhere." And this was normal because my dad owned a business. There were a lot of days that I would go to work with him, and that's what we did growing up. But this day turned out to be different, and actually a day that changed my entire life, because he drove me to the lawnmower store. And when I pulled up, there was a shiny, almost new push mower down there. Everything but a bow on it. And my dad says, "You're going to go cut our grass. Here's your lawnmower. Congratulations, son. I already paid for it. You're going to pay me back. I don't remember how much money every month until it's paid off. My dad walks up and says, you just financed your first piece of business equipment. Go ahead. I financed my first piece of business equipment. I went down the street. I cut her grass. My dad said, do a good job. I did a good job. That was at 12 years old. By the time that I was 14, I lived on a street with 13 houses. I cut 7 or 8 of those lawns. When other 14-year-olds were trying to get a job doing whatever, lifeguarding or whatever, I was bringing in $1,000 a week cutting lawns. Lived in a neighborhood with big yards. There were some yards like $150 a cut. I don't know how people paid for that, but at the time I wasn't going to question it. So I learned lessons from all of these. At 16, I almost bought a water tower. Driving down the road, looked at my cell phone, didn't have any cell service. My dad built a cell tower, so I knew the business a little bit. I knew he had to go through some problems to get the tower built. I saw a water tower. I thought to myself, hell, that tower's already up there. I just got to convince somebody to put an antenna on there. First thing I knew was got to get the rights to the tower. So here I am, 16 years old. I go, I knock on somebody's door. I want your water tower. I'm 16 years old trying to rent an old water tower. Imagine that one. 19, started a property management company. 21, tried to start a moving company. The idea was I would go to college campuses. I would, at the end of the year, you'd hand me your keys. I'd box everything for you, write your name on the box, store it over the summertime. And when fall time came, you tell me where your new dorm room was. When you walked in your new dorm room, all of your stuff would be there. May not be the biggest deal for you guys, but ask your parents if they would go for a service like that. So what's interesting, what I want to take off of that one, that story, is the fact that I didn't know anything about moving companies. I called up, how much is it to rent a van? How much is it to store stuff over the summer? How much for insurance? Well, I ended up not doing it because I figured out there was no money in it for me. 24 years old, I started a company, mybuilderrated.com. And all these things, I'm going to talk about the lessons I learned behind them. At 24, mybuilderrated.com, actually 1 month I got 3,000 hits. We were rating home builders. Very similar to what you see now is called Angie's List. And then at 27, like I said, I get this shiny degree from Johns Hopkins University saying I'm now a real estate professional, expert. And I said, oh, that's good, thanks. I'm going to go work in energy now. But there's a reason I did that. Because when I started cutting lawns, I learned you had to work hard. And when I knocked on that, or when that woman approached me, I learned you have to seize an opportunity. When I tried to buy the water tower, you have to control your fear. I'm 16 years old knocking on somebody's door. It's ridiculous. But I tried it, and I ended up doing a couple cell tower deals later on in life. Very lucrative. In fact, at the time, there was a company starting off called American Tower Corporation. Basically did the same thing I was doing at 16. Except for they stuck with it, and they had some lawyers and professionals working behind them, so they knew what they were doing. Now it's a billion-dollar company that pretty much owns the cell tower industry in India. My property management, I did that all the way up until like 3-4 years ago. That always kept money in my bank account. That was monthly income I got every month. So while I was starting, the reason why I could start all these companies and they failed, but I'm still proud of them, or they didn't succeed, and I'm still proud of them and I got something out of them, is because I always had money coming in to support myself, and I'm going to talk more about that as well. The moving company, listen, learn, walk away. Know when you have a bad idea. Take a lesson from it, and it's not a failure, it's a learning opportunity. My dad one time told me after this one here, he said, how much did I spend for you to go to Washington College? How much did you lose in mybuilderrated.com? And I went through, at the time I lost like $4,000, not much in the .com world. He says, all right, you got a great lesson, you got a bargain. So what I did learn about that one is the never stop digging, and I'm going to touch on that again. And then this one is really important for me. I left real estate to get into energy because you have to be honest with yourself. You're going to do this for the rest of your life, whatever you choose. I have this stuff about passion, and I think it's an overused term. I think a lot of people, oh, he's passionate about caterpillars. That doesn't mean you should go study caterpillars. But if you could find a business in it, you should absolutely try and figure that out. So the final lesson I wanted to go through is to forget money. If you think money is success, you go work for someone else. Don't do startups. Who here wants to do a startup, even though I just said don't do it? Who here wants to do a startup to be a millionaire, to make a lot of money? Here's my advice to you. The wealthiest, richest guy I know, when he was in college, wanted to get into real estate, got his real estate license, and went and found the biggest, best real estate company to work for. And he's now like a vice president. That guy makes more money than I could imagine. So if you're in it just for the money, forget the trials and tribulations of doing a startup. Go find a corporation. Don't blaze a new trail. If it's just for the money, go to a company and make the money. Startup, in my opinion, and you're free to disagree with me, startups, in my opinion, are there so you can fulfill a greater sense that you have inside of yourself, not just finances. This is Teddy Roosevelt, president of the 1900s, and this is why I say it's not about money. Have any of you guys ever seen this quote? Cadillac's using it now in their advertisements. You can read it. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but basically what President Roosevelt says is that it's not the critic who counts. It's not the guy who's going to throw the stones, who's going to knock you down. Because when you're an entrepreneur, when you get into startups, what you're about is at the end of the quote here, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows that in the end triumph of high achievement, and who at his worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly. And that's what startups are about, to me. So these are my parting thoughts. Basically, what I want you guys to take away from this thing is you have to define what success is. And how do you survive from startup stumbles? We say, that's fine. If this one didn't excel the way I wanted it to, I've learned something from it, and I'm taking it with me. Look at my resume. You would think I was a failure. Maybe. But I learned a lot, and now I'm doing something that I love. When I talked about My Builder Rated, I gave up on that company. I didn't compete with Angie's List. Angie's List is a huge company right now. I turned out to be this guy. Who's closer to success? You guys ever see this image before? Who's closer to the diamonds? This guy is. He's still digging. That guy already gave up. You have to listen and learn. You have to think smarter, not harder. Sometimes a lot of people stumble in the business world because they say, oh, I went out, I worked 70 hours a week. How come this just isn't taking off? I found myself in that rut sometimes. You work yourself to death. You have to be able to step away. You have to be able to think about things and change your approach. You have to control emotion. And I mean for the good and the bad. I haven't seen the movie, and I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but the 50 Shades of Grey. I saw the preview for it. And the lady, I don't know the book either, the lady asked the guy, the successful guy, says, how do you do it? Or what drives you? And he says, well, I do everything with complete and utter control. Man, that is a line that is written by somebody in Hollywood who's probably never run a business before. There is no such thing as complete and utter control. Everything is driven by emotion. You have to control it. When I get hit, when I'm down on the ground and I choose to stand up, what's going to stand? What gets you up? You're going to stand up to the face of logic. You're going to say, I'm going to keep going forward. It's emotion. It's your drive. When I'm going to somebody and I'm saying, hey, I really need your help. I know that I'm a small company. I know that I'm brand new and you're a big-time lawyer, but I need you to help me with this issue. It's emotion. Use it to your advantage. Tell the guy, I'm a small guy. I need your help. I'm trying to go against Goliath. The other advice that I have, and this is sort of separate from a lot of stuff, I'm going to throw it out there real quick, is start right now. If the stuff that I'm telling you, you like, If you still want to do startups, if you want to get involved in this sort of a business, you're going to be happy one day, sad the next day. I will tell you, this morning, I was charged, I was ready to go, I was excited, and then driving here today, I got one email. You should have heard the words coming out of my mouth. You start now. You'll learn. You're young. You can find a mentor. People love giving away information to young people. Get a job as a bartender. If you really want to start a business or something, try and get a job in the industry. But if you want to go out on your own, you want to do your own startup, get a job as a bartender. I sold beer at FedEx Field. In fact, to this day, I have the record for most cases of beer sold at FedEx Field. Now, I had an advantage because the Redskins were winning while I was working there. So they had a full stadium. Don't be afraid of failure. Be excited to learn. Now, the test. If you think like I do, who's the failure? What is 50 years from now? What marks yourself as a failure? I'll tell you, since I told you about mine, I pictured an orange apron, but I also picture a guy who's never traveled. I've been on every continent in this world except for Antarctica. I picture a guy who's never tried to start a business. I picture a guy who's never dared greatly. That's a failure to me. I could have 0 money in my bank account when I'm 70 years old. Am I a failure? No, because I tried. I did what I love to do. You may go down in flames, but you laugh while doing it. You try while doing it. In summary, learn from your mistakes, make them all positive attributes, and because the haters are going to hate, who cares? So that's that. Any questions? Who here wants to go do a startup? Raise your hand. Who here wants to get into the startup industry? I hope I didn't scare you guys. Are there any questions? Go ahead.
You said like 2 different lessons, in like one at 16 and I believe another one at 21. Your one at 16 was control fear, take a chance.
Yeah.
And the other one was listen, learn, and walk away.
When appropriate.
Hey,
Okay. Okay. So, and you're going to have to help me because that was a 2-part question, or at least you asked about 2 different things. I don't have a good memory. Learn to walk away. What I did, I tried to start a moving company, and as I evaluated, I realized there wasn't a lot of money in the business I was trying to start. Probably could have been successful, and successful in the fact that I have a lot of customers. Not my best business because I probably would have starved. So I walked away from it.
and you stopped digging.
No, because that one I feel like in my opinion, as I look back, that's one that I made an evaluation of and decided it wasn't worth digging. And then the other, when I was 16, control fear.
My question was about that those 2 lessons were a bit contradictory.
No, because like I said, so the moving company, I decided that the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. I didn't stop digging, I just figured out what was on the other side of what I was going for. And I decided that it was not worth going to. Now when I was, the diamonds, there weren't enough diamonds in that one. The one when I was 16 years old, I learned from it. And I wish I would have continued and tried to push it, like the website as well, you know?
Back to that, do you think, gosh, I wish it had worked out that I had bought that tower?
Yeah, but I was 16 years old, and I was still learning. It wasn't my time to bust out and make a phenomenal move like that.
Could you tell us a little bit about your current business and what your vision for it is? You said a couple of pretty interesting things about bringing power to people.
Yeah, so the current business that I have, that I've been working on since 2011, we're going to develop renewable energy power plants in developing countries. And I hope our first power plant will be operating the beginning of next year. It's in Argentina. It's a wind power plant. It's delivering clean energy to a region known as Patagonia. Anybody know what Patagonia is besides a label on a shirt? So Patagonia, for those who don't, Patagonia is a section of the world that, although when we think of Patagonia, we always think of those jagged mountains, the Andes Mountains. It's actually not. It's like 80% flat plains. You'd imagine it's good for wind. It's south of Brazil, south of Buenos Aires, about 10 hours is where my specific project is, but there's actually a power line that runs straight to Buenos Aires and serves a lot of communities along the way. In the summertime, when Buenos Aires gets really hot, everybody clicks on their air conditioner and then it shuts down the grid system. Our power plant is actually going to help get rid of some of that. So we're also looking at projects in Africa where we want to do the same thing. I've been to Ghana a few times. We looked at Ethiopia, Tanzania, Kenya. And the whole idea is to go into some of these areas that are underserved when it comes to power and introduce the region, and we're not just going into one town, but introduce the region to renewable energy. Because a lot of these areas, a lot of these countries, for one reason or another, they can't build a nuclear power plant. We can't build a nuclear power plant right now. We're having trouble doing it. They certainly can't. They don't want to do coal because they have a lot of financing that's available for their country, and if they build coal, they may not be able to get certain financing. Renewable energy is something that can serve them and also reduce their energy costs. So that's my goal, is to go into these parts of the world and deliver energy in a cost-effective manner that's renewable, clean, and reliable.
Like the grid systems in America are like demand-based,
Mm-hmm.
so you can just kind of like burn more oil or burn more coal, and if you have like solar or wind, it could back up the grid kind of. And don't you need like some sort of energy storage system?
No, because what you said right there is I'm backing up the grid. So, okay, a lot of the world is powered by oil or gas or natural gas. Basically, when I go into an area, what they do is we always joke, or we always say sort of casually, they lay off the accelerator pedal. If you imagine an engine actually spinning a turbine, which a lot of these regions, I mean, you'll go in there. I went into one place, Marshall Islands. Have you guys ever heard of this? Marshall Islands. It's halfway between Hawaii and Australia. Bikini Island, that's where we tested the atom bomb. Their power on their main island of Majuro is a diesel engine from a Nazi tank. Tell me there's not something more efficient than a diesel engine from a Nazi tank. So what we'll do is we'll go into there and we'll put in solar panels and say, look, during the day, take your foot off the accelerator of that tank. Let it relax a little bit. It's getting old. We'll supply the electricity and then they come back in at night and kick things on. So energy storage, I don't know much about. It's a great industry. If one of you guys are into engineering or know anything about it, that's a phenomenal place to go. It's a growing sector. Dr. Harvey, my biggest mentor. One of the things that I learned from him, I think, is the ability to examine an organization, to step out of a problem, to step out of the company, look at it from 50,000 feet up, look down into it, identify a problem, and then go forward. Learn from it. Figure out what you can take out of it and what you could put back into it to make it better. And that's also a big lesson, which Dr. Harvey talked on before. That was a really big lesson that I learned here at Washington College. I was involved in different clubs. I was treasurer of the student government, and there were some clubs that were having some trouble. And I tried and learned and worked with these guys to figure out how can they improve their club's membership, how can they improve the services they offered, because it would benefit the campus as a whole. You always have to learn how to sort of step out. Even when you're stumbling, you have to learn how to take a step out and figure out what's going on to fix it. Readjust yourself, think smarter, and go forward again. Yes?
Where do you draw the line between starting now with an average to mediocre idea or waiting till you have something that you think has some serious substance to it?
You'll know. I don't know. I mean, you'll know, I don't know. I could say that a bunch of different ways. Probably makes sense in every one of them, probably doesn't make sense in either one of them. When you have an idea, if you're willing to invest your time in it, as long as you have, like I did, I sold beer, I had that property management, you could take the chance and go at it. The moving company, even though it's up there, maybe it sounded significant, man, I spent like 3 weeks on that idea. But I wanted to point it out there. I wanted to highlight it because after 3 weeks, I said, well, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And I got out of that idea. So when you have an idea, even if it's mediocre, you start researching it. Google, figure it out, start talking. Are there other companies that are in that same industry that are maybe doing a similar thing? Try and figure out those companies. Are they making money? Then let me figure out how I can alter my idea to start being a revenue generator. Then money does count a little bit, of course. When I say don't forget money, not completely. Don't take that literally. Yes?
Can we assume, since you still haven't started your first installation, that you're in a negative cash flow situation? And if so...
That's what my investor would say.
And if so, what sort of corporate structure do you use to get investments? And to get
I have an LLC and some other foreign entities that eventually connect us to the ultimate project. And according to my investor, yes, we're at a negative cash flow. But as a startup guy, I have an investor. So I'm well on the way to accomplishing the goals I want to do. And most startups, that's how they start to view success, is when money starts coming in. And it's either through revenue generation or through getting investors to help you to keep growing to a certain goal. I mean, you know, go on the stock exchange and look, there are some big companies out there that aren't making any money yet.
Amazon's taken a long time to start making
Yeah,
money.
yeah. So, I mean, my investors right now, if you look at a snapshot, Amacor has a negative cash flow. Once we start producing electricity, they'll be happy.
So do you use venture capital firms to raise the capital that you need?
At my current project, we do have a investment group out of China that's investing in my company, that's funding it. And we have looked at working directly with some venture capital firms to fund specific, we're looking at some other projects and we need capital to pursue those projects. And in that case, we're looking to find a good partner that would help us raise the money for those specific endeavors.
Is your dream and theirs then to take your company public at some point?
Yes. Yeah, that's the goal. Of course. Did you have you already asked a question? You had a question.
Like, what advice would you give to your college self, or like, how have your passions changed? Because you started with the real estate path, then you switched to energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you sort of? I guess it's how did you find that your passion is more towards energy?
I always liked renewable energy. I always liked solar. If I had to give my college self advice, you know, of course, it's hard to say now because I'm happy where I am. So I would tell myself, hey, just keep your chin up and keep pushing through. And maybe if I had to offer you advice, I would tell you just the same exact thing. Your path will forever be changing. And I think even now, my path still has a lot of room to change. And as I grow, my company grows, my family grows, my objectives will change. And you know, it's really, the advice is you just keep your chin up, and every day you wake up and you say, I'm happy to be where I am today because yesterday I set today up, and that's how I got here.
I think we have time for one more question, if there is a question.
Okay.
Well, great, Teris, thank you so
Thank you.
much for coming, for sharing your thoughts. Folks, Teris graduated from the college. He remains connected to the college. You students and community members, if you want a chance to talk with Teris, we can easily put you in touch with him. This was one small amount of what Teris has to share. The cool thing is that you get the sense his story is still kind of just getting started. So hopefully we're going to hear in the future how it grows and where it goes,
Sure.
where it takes you.
You'll see me ringing the bell on the stock exchange, right?
We want to give you a small token of our thanks for coming and sharing time with us in your busy life. The college has brand new coasters with the Washington College seal on them in the bookstore. They're like my favorite new college thing. They're a stone coaster, so
That's
there's
awesome.
a generous set of these.
Thank you very
Teris,
much.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely, thank you. And thank you, everybody.